Alon, that may be, by the way, you live on a kibbutz?
No.
No, it's not your kibbutz.
I was born on a kibbutz
you were
and
born,
raised on a kibbutz, but no, today I live here.
I see. Okay.
Yes.
But a kibbutz is controllable because it has boundaries. How do you do that in Iraq or Afghanistan?
It can only be done on a rather small scale, such as a limited site settlement or a compound of houses.
Or an air base or something like that.
Yes.
I see.
It cannot. It's a localized solution, and it's not an absolute solution. It would have to be combined with additional measures for it to be more effective.
Now you just recently, or your center, or you personally, I don't know, or you and your students got this big Gates Foundation grant, $5 million. That's very impressive. What is it specifically for?
Well, the Gates Foundation has been funding research on tropical diseases and infectious diseases for quite a long time. And in the past it had focused among the vector-borne diseases, specifically on malaria. In recent years, they have decided to go into funding of a group of diseases they call neglected tropical diseases. Leishmaniasis is considered neglected because of that reason, that a lot less funding has been going to leishmaniasis and other neglected diseases. And the Gates Foundation has started funding those on a smaller scale, justifiably, because indeed malaria globally is a much more serious disease. But in parts of distribution, visceral leishmaniasis is very, very serious. Among those, East Africa, chiefly Sudan, but also parts of northeastern Ethiopia, which are essentially part of that large focus in Sudan. And I approached the Gates Foundation and suggested a project to study VL in Ethiopia. Clearly, Sudan was not an option for us as Israelis, although, by the way, we do have colleagues that we meet in meetings and on excellent terms we exchange ideas, but physically we cannot visit Sudan.
Even southern Sudan, which is managed independently, really. You know.
I tell you, I'm an ambitious and I have a lot of ambition to do good in science, but not quite to enter Sudan when I cannot tell if I'll ever get out. But with Ethiopia, fortunately, we have excellent relations, and we have good contacts with local scientists that are working in these foci for a long time.
So they're your partners in the project?
Yes, yes. This is a collaborative project between us, a number of groups at the Hebrew University, one group in the Gertner Institute, specifically a mathematical modeler, who will be looking at aspects of modeling the disease, and several groups in Ethiopia, and one additional group at the Czech Republic, which is an excellent group working on sandflies for many years. We've worked together a lot
Why
of
the Czech Republic working on sandflies?
Because they do a very good job, in spite of the fact that they have no leishmaniasis.
No, that's what I mean. I was going to ask you, you wouldn't have any collaborators in Canada, for example. We have tropical disease specialists in Canada.
Of course. There are good people working in Canada on leishmaniasis.
There are.
Not on sandflies.
Oh, I see.
And I cannot specifically, but for instance, colleagues here have worked in the past, I know, with Canadian colleagues. And in the US, certainly some of the best groups are in the US where they don't have leishmaniasis. And the same is true in this case of this one group in the Czech Republic that has been working on sandflies in many parts of the world, including here in the Galilee for several years with us, and in Turkey and North Africa, and now in Ethiopia. We asked them to join because we know they're very conscientious, hardworking, and also pleasant company to be with.
Now, in this research job, one kind of research is just applied research. You're going to see how it works in this area and try a new model of controlling or something like that. Is that the nature of this research, or is it a more breakthrough in a more fundamental way?
No, in fact, the project in Ethiopia, the title is Epidemiology and Transmission Dynamics of Visceral Leishmaniasis. So it's a
So
basic...
it's dealing with the severe kind, not
Yes,
the
only
cutaneous.
visceral.
I see.
Although in a clause, a side clause, I would say that cutaneous leishmaniasis in Ethiopia is a very serious problem in itself, much beyond what it is here in Israel. But the Gates Foundation has targeted visceral leishmaniasis because it's a life-threatening disease. And so our project in Ethiopia focuses on visceral leishmaniasis in several foci, and we are going to conduct research in every aspect of disease transmission from the human population, their exposure to sandflies, their exposure to parasites. How do the sandflies become infected? Is it only of infected humans, or are there also animal reservoir hosts involved? We know from Sudan that there must be some. There is a very serious problem in Ethiopia of co-infection with of persons who are HIV positive.
Yeah, explain that to me, the coincidence of those two.
Visceral leishmaniasis is in HIV positive people is much more difficult to treat, and is frequently treatment is unsuccessful. That means that there will be a relapse once or twice and the patient will die.
Is there an explanation?
Because the HIV virus suppresses the immune system.
Oh, I
the
see.
treatment for leishmaniasis depends on the, I'll call it unprofessional terms, the active participation of the immune system. It's not only the drug, it's a drug plus the immune system that helps to cure a otherwise healthy person of the disease. And it works well on the whole. But once a person is co-infected with HIV, his immune system is not healthy. And even though he may be receiving drugs for suppressing the AIDS virus, what is called the antiretroviral cocktail, which many of them are receiving through mostly aid programs from the US. But even so, they are succumbing to visceral leishmaniasis. And in fact, a professor here in Hadassah called Shlomo Maayan has been working for many years on AIDS in Ethiopia, and he was the first one to alert us to this problem of visceral leishmaniasis being a very serious problem amongst AIDS patients that they were seeing in their hospitals and towns. And so that was the initial seed of my interest in Ethiopia.
So that's a strong motivation to deal with it, but where is there a more basic science to it in terms of linking up? The immune system is weaker, etc. But when you follow the cycle of this disease through the sandfly and a temporary host, the mammal host that's not human, where do you focus your research, or are different groups working in different areas? How is it organized?
Are you asking geographically where?
No, on the cycle of the disease.
So our group, we have a large group. My group is looking specifically at a big mystery in the life cycle of the sandfly, and that is, where are the sandflies breeding? Because we don't know where they breed, where the larvae are found, we cannot target larvae in control. Now this is, to a non-entomologist may say, okay, so why don't we just spray against the adults? Source reduction in mosquito control is a very, very effective means of reducing mosquito populations. And it's being used wherever control is practiced, chiefly in developed countries, but also in Africa. For sandflies, this is not an option.
Do you have a hypothesis where they
Yes,
breed?
we know that they are somewhere in the ground, but we need to study a lot more in depth in order to characterize and understand. And I have to be realistic and admit to you that even once we know, we will not be able to target it as efficiently as we can a small pond of water with mosquito larvae.
I see.
But we want to know where they are. We want to know whether they are restricted, because the ground is endless, but maybe they have particular habitats in the ground under specific trees or behind specific rocks or only in a shade or something like this that will enable us to target these areas for control within a range. We will also study how far they fly. So if we have a village and we know, for example, that flies fly only short distances, which we already know, sandflies don't travel long distances on the whole, and we know that within this perimeter there are 4 or 5 sites that are the chief breeding sites, perhaps we'll be able to target them. I cannot say how.
Well, I'm going to wish you good luck, and thank you for coming.